Your timing was right off.
Oh, really? Oh.
I left to go to the barn to feed the animals, and when I came back, supper was on the table. I came downstairs, and you had called a minute after I left, and 2 minutes before I came back down.
I don't know, I have bad luck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're here now.
Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look up the words.
Yeah.
Say you'll just have like a post and just have like a whole list of words. Cause I'm reading your older posts. Like I haven't been reading the more recent ones. I guess in a sense I'm like stuck in your past. You know.
That's the way it's supposed to be. That's where I began.
Yeah. And when you look up the definitions, like one, you had afar, Djibouti, faith, family. And you look up family. I was reading this in the definition. It said, on the other hand, family structures or its internal relationships may affect both state and religious institutions. J.F. Del Giorgio, the oldest Europeans, points out that the high status of women among the descendants of post-glacial Paleolithic European population was coherent with the fierce love of freedom of pre-Indo-European tribes. He believes that the extraordinary respect for women in those families meant that children raised in such atmospheres tended to distrust strong authoritarian leaders. According to Del Giorgio, European democracies have their roots in these ancient ancestors.
That's why the priests had to work hard to destroy the women.
Yeah. And here's another one. And the definition of the father, they say that the father is often seen as an authority figure. According to Deleuze, the father authority exercises repression over sexual desires. A common observation among scholars is that the authority of the father and of the political leader are closely intertwined, that there is a symbolic identification between domestic authority and national political leadership. Wow. I never thought it was that deep rooted. Like,
well, that's what happens when you start breaking down words, and especially silly balls.
Yeah. yeah, and that's why I guess they call them symbols, right? Yeah, and I've been looking, and this is taking me to like in Africa.
Yeah.
The whole I was reading something on the Eritrea area.
Eritrea.
Yeah, Eritrea. They're like herders who basically go around. And you said something about...
If you look at Eritrea on the map, it's shaped like the Little Dipper.
Oh.
A long handle and a dipper, and it's leaning on the Red Sea.
Mm. Yeah. And with the words, too, like I find it interesting you pointed out, too, PH, you'll see that, philosopher, PhD, and then who let the dogs out? Hewlett Packard. I guess with the HP computer. What was his role? I guess with that, lighting out. With I guess coming out with that. I guess that was more of like to watch people or monitor people.
Who?
The Hewlett Packard. Because he's the HP. That's the computer.
Computer, but they were scientific computers. So they were basically the priests' machines, because the priests were the scientists before universities went public. And HP is the number 16. If you lean the P against the H, you have 1/6. Got to flip it over.
Yeah, and with that...
16 is sweet 16.
And when you sound it out, it's Fa, right? And one of those words is Fatima, right? And I looked up the definition, and all people named Fatima, all types of people. I was surprised. I didn't like. I found one. It was one place called Our Lady of Fatima, and it's Muhammad's daughter. Then you have Fatima Budo. Fatima Blush is a character in the Bond movie, and then she seeks to dominate all males in her life. And I'm just seeing this little links with everything. Yeah. And it's also a short story by Rudyard Kipling, another Mason.
Mhm.
And I thought that was interesting to me. What's your address? Because I just bought the thing, money order, and I want to make sure this is your right address. It says Apply Canadian Institute for Political Integrity, CO Glen Kealey, National President, Glen CIPI Kealey at Netscape.net.
That's no longer my email address.
Is it the P.O. Box 774?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just Netscape that canceled my email when I wouldn't stop sending out stuff that they didn't like. I told them that their name was linked to Escape, and that you can't escape them on the net.
Yeah, the funny thing about the net too, like, a net's, a spider's web, and you get stuck on the web,
Absolutely, it's a thing that catches people and won't let them go where they want to go, and won't let them do what they want to do, and they have to sit there and wait till they die.
Wow, that's a correctly chosen name for the whole system. And I heard too that www in Greek letters is 666, and no man shall be able to buy or sell without that beast, they say. So and I noticed with E too, like everything with E in the language is like
E is the most used letter in the English language.
Yeah, like
it's 3 in 1.
Yeah, that's why they name you, right? And you look at name backwards as E-Man, 3 in 1 man, or when the symbolic tie you put around your neck and it's a Y, and you put that backwards as E 3 in 1 it, I guess you call it.
It's designed on the family. You've got a bar at the bottom that holds things up, the child in the middle, the mother at the top, and they're all held together by a job and a house and religion.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. The family, like, that's what kind of got me mad, like.
And what they do is they take the male from the bottom and send him out to war, and you leave an F. And all the weight's at the top, and an F falls over. So a family is designed to crumble as soon as they act by sending men off to war.
Yeah, like when I was looking at the definition of family, it said it's just to keep the system going. That's the main function of a family.
Nail in the foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Run around in circles, but you can't leave. Hang around the house till the kids are grown up, at least. Yeah.
I was looking. I was reading that thing too on what you were saying about Francis Bacon.
Yeah.
And he had I knew he founded the Rosicrucian Society. But you also, he said they said that he founded the speculative Mason. What's speculative Masonry? What is that?
Well, Masons are people who work in stone. Speculative Masons are people who work in words.
And the whole thing with, because I'm always hearing about these different, like, they're different bloodlines and Egyptian, but I've never. what you mentioned a lot in the older ones is the Basque, and I looked up the Basque people. They're like a separate people. They have their own language, everything, and they're like in Spain, like almost like type of Spain.
Their separatist movement is called ETA.
Yeah.
And ETA is estimated time of arrival. And the English call it T. If you look at the symbolic versions of letters in the alphabet when they're put in the symbol side, there are only 3 letters that are printed upside down as well as right side up. ETA. When Jacques Cartier left France to come to Canada, and is like our Christopher Columbus. He's supposedly the first guy to visit Canada. Well, in reality, when he arrived at the Gulf of St. Lawrence, there were 1,000 Basque fishing vessels fishing there. So they already knew where Canada was. They knew where the United States was. Nobody was lost. The Indians didn't feel lost. They had been around for a while. They had been dropped off, marooned is what they called it, by the Phoenicians many, many years before.
You was talking about like that. Where are the Basques? Like you said in Grand Orient Freemasonry, it creates a type of elitism in that. Like
they are in the Pyrenees, and that's the mountain range between Spain and France. And it's inside the mountain range that they had a lab for genetic engineering and a lab to make priests for the Vatican, where they were taught languages. There are over 6,000 versions of the language using the Roman characters. Each little group that was marooned was given a different version so that they could be traced to where they came from. But the entire language has to have one thing in common. Phonetics. Priests that understood phonetics could go along with the soldier and within a day or so learn to talk with the native people.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's in that movie. They hint at it, and it's called Stargate.
Yeah.
In the movie Stargate, and the guy, it was supposedly like a dialect of Egyptian, and he just learned it for a few hours because he knew all the, I guess, the basic groundwork, I guess, of the language. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I watched that movie you told me to watch, The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I see a lot of the symbology they use was a lot more relevant, prevalent in the movie than the more recent one, because they kept using the Lesenge, Queen of Diamonds, and all these other little hallmarks they have in it. Yeah, I thought it was.
That movie was made for release and was held back because it coincided with the Kennedy assassination.
Oh.
So they only released it a year or two after, but it was supposed to be released just at the same time. They figured that it would confuse a lot of people, and they wouldn't believe there was a lone assassin. But in fact, the whole thing is a mirror image of reality. It is physically impossible for an individual to murder a president.
Yeah.
With 3,000 security guards all the time. What is very easy to do is for the president to murder the citizens of his country, orders them into war, puts them in position of danger, cuts their income, makes deals with the bankers, everything to cause the citizen stress. Because only stressed out people can be managed.
Yeah. So these guys, these Basque, are they like high on the pyramid or something?
BAS, skull and bones. QUE, Quebec.
Oh yeah, there's another one you were pointing out. All the Q's in the language.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up yet. Still haven't.
Q is the egg with the spear piercing it to open it up.
Yeah, I think I seen somebody else point that out too. That's interesting.
And you have some fancy Q's that shows the bar at the bottom going inside the egg, making a wave and coming back out again. And that's symbolic of the Neanderthalers going underground and then sending back the Roma above ground, and then they go out in space. That's why the line stretches out from the Q itself.
Yeah, I want to learn more about these Roma. If I want to learn more about them, do I have to look into history?
You look up the word gypsy.
Oh, okay.
Look up the word wanderers.
Oh.
Wanderers is basically made out of DNA, A-N-D. W means create, A-N-D, 2-2.
2-2. I've seen that Y2Ks with the mirrored Ks with an I going down the middle.
Bishop Tutu, South Africa.
Oh.
The seconds. They were the second made, and they were second put out after the Ice Age.
Yeah. In that movie, Stargate, the guy who was one character who was supposedly he was the god, and his name was Ra, whatever. But when you look at him closely, he's looks like both a male and a female.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. You mentioned something like that in your other article. With I think her name was Hepsimatut.
Yeah, Hatchetput.
Yeah, and this
Hatchetsup.
Yeah, Hatshepsut. Yeah. Amen to the virgin hermaphrodite was the that's that it goes that Pharaoh again. Yeah. Pharaoh. And you said hat means brother in the coding, secret coding. Spoken by Mormons in Utah. So what's that? You brother?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's interesting. But yeah,
Utah has hat backwards. That's why you've got symbolic hats, mostly with Lincoln.
That's another thing too. Lincoln in that movie, Manchurian Candidate, kept pointing out Lincoln, and he kept putting his face there. Yeah. It was symbolic of something. And
assassinations.
Yeah. And one costume that the mother wore, she was like a shepherd.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I see when I look around, I really see that. Now I understand.
As soon as you grasp the premise, everything starts to fall into place.
Yeah. I wish it could happen. It's just, I feel like I'm running out of time. And,
You are. You have more time than I do, but we are running out of time.
Okay. And it's just like I can't read every book under the sun. I'm trying to, but I can't. I'm trying to catch up.
March is the feast of lotteries, where the Jewish people are concerned, because it's the approach to Easter that comes in April. Easter is based upon another female male made and put into Persian king's entourage. Esther became one of the Persian king's females that he could choose to marry or not. Called it a harem.
A harem?
She was Jewish and wasn't supposed to tell him. But then she found out that the prime minister was going to kill the Jews. So she went to him, and he had fallen in love with her and said he'd give her anything she wanted. When she told him, stop your prime minister from killing the Jews, the Persian king did stop him. He hung the prime minister's 10 sons, replaced him in his job with Esther's uncle, who basically became the prime minister. And Jews wrote a festival based on the work of Esther. It's basically the lottery that chance allowed them to survive because they had Esther within the king's hearing. And they celebrate that 13th, 14th, 15th of March. In their calendar, it works out to something like 1st, 2nd, 3rd of March in ours. So if you're going to buy a ticket, they probably don't rig the sale of lottery tickets in that month, and you have a chance of winning something. But then the next month is the month of fools. All the people believe in the bullshit of religion and politics and everything. Dangerous day in that month will be April 13th, which is the Ides in April.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's related to September 11th. That fell in the Ides.
Yeah.
December.
The word dies.
Oh. Yeah.
Has been scrambled. And April 13th is Easter Monday. And it's Easter and Esther is basically the same word with just a couple of letters in there switched around, A and T. It is really the story in the Bible of the DNA of Jesus being transferred from one sucker to another.
Yeah, you said Jesus J is like I suck, or
yeah. If you read it in French, it's je suis.
Yeah.
And je suis means I suck. And he passes his DNA on to what became Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute, and male, female, because it's Jesus and Mary combined in the story, made up by the Essenes. Magdalene, lean at the end, comes from the French laine. Laine means wool. Wool was born by the Essenes. They had a custom where they had to wear woolen underpants, not allowed to ever take them off.
Mormons do that too, I think, right?
They have some other thing they wear on their leg underneath their clothes.
Yeah, one thing that you had me confused, like, 'cause I see, like, maybe you see it in a different light or something, but you were saying the U.S. military is going to go against these,
I said the U.S. military is the only group that is physically able to confront the Neanderthalers. Didn't say they would. I said they're the only ones who could.
Yeah.
In order to confront them, they would need 2,000 bunker busters, nuclear bunker busters, because there are 2,000 cone volcanoes that are extinct on the planet. And if were you to shoot down each one simultaneously, you would crack the planet.
Oh.
So the U.S. military could, in fact, say to the Neanderthalers, look, you've killed 1 billion people in phase 1. If you continue doing this, you're going to kill all the people on the planet, including us. Well, we're not going without a fight.
Oh, just kill everybody.
So if you're going to go to phase 2, we'll go to our nuclear bunker buster phase, and you won't need to worry about phase 3 because we'll all be dead.
Oh, this is what psychopaths do, you know. Just when they feel they can't control everything, they'll press the button and just kill everybody off.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
That's how the war with Russia got turned around. When Russia began using nuclear weapons, the U.S. started a race, arms race.
Yeah, but I heard the whole race was really just to step up the technology. It wasn't really, maybe on the low levels they thought it was like competition.
What it was a monetary race. If you looked at the economy of the U.S. and compared it to the economy of Russia, they never had a chance because they could never spend the kind of money that the U.S. could spend. Think of what the U.S. is spending now in its support for banks and money handed out for one thing or another to airlines and car manufacturers and everything. I mean, the economy of the U.S. was to the 13 to 15 trillion dollars, whereas the economy of Russia was probably not even 1 trillion.
Yeah, but I did like a little research in that. Like the U.S. funded Russia. We supported Russia. We.
You got to remember that the U.S. is not in charge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Canada is in charge. the people who run the U.S. have to get permission from Canada. Barack Obama came to Ottawa this week because he had to be knighted.
Oh, really?
And that was the reason they met in the afternoon. And the queen that knighted him is your fellow countryman, our Governor General. Her name is Michelle Jean. He's from Haiti.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard of her.
And she's got a symbolic husband who basically provides cover for her. But she, in fact, is right up there among the male females.
Oh, man. Her name says it, too. Yeah. Michelle Jean.
And she spells it Michael. Not like Michelle. She adds the A in the middle to make it Michael, L-E at the end.
Is she gonna laugh when you hear this? Like, I think about like my father's name. Yeah. His name is
And Haiti, of course, is the poorest country in the world.
Yeah. I heard they were eating mud cakes and crazy out there. We can't even go there to visit.
It's hell.
Yeah.
In the Bible, it's referred to as Hades.
Yeah. And I think this is a preview of what the whole world's going to see.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like my father's name, you look at his name, it's actually Jean Rene.
Yeah. Well, Jean, the capital J, if you put another capital J upside down on it, and it closes it up and makes the letter D.
Yeah.
So it's the secret way of saying Dean.
Oh. Okay.
And in English, they call it John because when you're doing what you want done, they use the term caca. So a John is where you go.
Yeah.
To caca.
Yeah. I look at my name too, like my last name. It's really Masonic. It's Guillaume.
Yeah.
And I know Guillaume is William. Yeah. Will I am, right?
Yeah.
But
call me Bill for short.
Oh man.
Be ill.
Yeah. So I know, like, I don't know. So maybe, like, if maybe I could just track it and because I hope that because you said like we're all genetically engineered and you find out what your program was. Like, well, I don't want to find out like my program is something that I wouldn't personally agree with or something like.
Well, it's certainly not something you would agree with. I don't think that the system starts off with people who agree with them. Yeah. That's why they have to program them. Yeah. To make sure that they don't will their own will, but will the system's will.
Mm. Oh, so, like...
Will I am... I am is the short way of saying friend. I am friend because ami is friend in French.
And I thought it was I am saying I am God, or another way.
Well, you are. Everybody on the planet is Jesus. We suck. We're suckers. We accept their view of things, and we're about to be crucified. Right now, we happen to be going through the Passion. All of this credit crunch and climate change and colony collapse is all part of this Passion that they're putting us through before the crucifixion. And when we're dead, they want to revive us again The word is resurrect, ruse, wreck. Zion. Resurrect Zion.
Yeah, and when you look at
Zion is the number 10 in the middle of two letters that say change direction.
Yeah, and I heard another meaning of Zion was the first two letters came from sin, which was the moon, and on, which is the sun, and that's the hermaphrodite. I guess two opposites. I guess that's a lower level or just another interpretation of it.
Well, there's also a definition that says SI is short for EC in French, which means here, and ON is the new original. So they've started a new phase, and that's the original.
Yeah, I see that, like, on my job. I see these little codings in the word, like, they have a beer that they sell. It's called Bass.
Yeah.
And then they underline ass on purpose. So I guess, I don't know, you have to be an ass to drink it, but I guess that also means the message. And one that really gets me, one beer, they're all pretty Masonic, all of them, but one beer that in particular, it's called Samuel Adams. And that name, I know, Samuel, I know it has the mass and something, I'm not sure. The message it's saying, or something, I'm not sure what it means, but I thought I did, but
an ass is a message carrier. You're the message carrier.
Oh man. And when these syllables you saying, all these letters in the alphabet, you said they're philosopher's stone. So that's what it was all symbolic for, because when you look up philosopher's stone, it said they actually talk like it's something tangible that you can see in front of you, like a real stone, but it was symbolic for letters.
Yeah. You assemble them together and you make walls, and then more walls make a fort, and buildings and skyscrapers.
Yeah, it's crazy with the word, the language. Like, even on the internet, you see most people are just they're all arguing with each other. It's all egos arguing with each other.
Yeah.
But it's all because of the words, because the spoken or the written word is so powerful. Can make can make or break somebody, I guess.
The English language was written so that each word can be interpreted in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And that gives the power to the system, because they appoint a judge. The judge reinterprets what he reads based on who he wants to win and who he wants to lose.
And
two
everybody
people can go in with the same argument in 2 different weeks, and one will win and one will lose. One's a Mason, one's not.
Have you ever looked into it done it with the Jewish law? I guess they call it the Babylonian law.
Babylon is where they were taken in the year 986. And they were 586. They were kept in 586 till 537. 49 years, I think it was. And they were retrained. 2 generations were retrained into Zoroastrian thinking, and then brought back, and they told people they were coming back with the Jewish law, but what in fact they came back with was Zoroastrian law, the ruse.
Zoroastrian, that guy Zoroaster, he started the whole good deity, bad deity way of thinking.
The guy that led them on the trip back to Israel was called Zorobabel.
Oh, really?
Captain Zorobabel.
Oh, I'm going to look up that name. Zorobabel. Because you always refer to the, like, the system, like Zoroastrian, Zorobabel, Basque. These guys have like thousands of names.
Yeah, and the word Zorro is the word ruse.
Yeah, ruse.
Phonetically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of a movie I seen. It's called Silent Flute, Circle of Iron. And it was written by Bruce Lee, and I know his name has the ruse in it, and the male-female double E's in there. Yeah. And they show you the whole Zen philosophy in there. And really, when I see all this Zen philosophy, like all these religions, you see that denominator. You always see that Gnostic belief, but this is the material world, and the spiritual world, and all this type of stuff. Yeah.
Societies are there for a purpose.
Yeah.
That's to divide in order to conquer. They seek out the people that have the leadership qualities, and they separate them from the rest of the gang, and they bribe and blackmail them. So they work against the majority and for the minority. And after a while, they started making them instead of just waiting to discover them. So now they can make 5 or 6 for each appointment, and by the time they grow up, find out which one is still alive and which one is the best for the task at hand. And that's, George Bush and John Kerry, 2 competitors with the same credentials for the same job. It took the judges in the Supreme Court to make the decision, the final decision between the 2 of them.
Yeah, with George Bush, I was talking with my friend last night. This guy, he was a really good actor. He really played the part of being an idiot. Yeah. Everybody believed it.
Yeah.
And they even took it so far, he's making shirts of, fuck Bush, and I'm looking at this, so everybody was like people who, I guess you call them the conspiracy world, they all went along with it.
Yeah. The media suckers them all, and they all fall for it.
Yeah.
Everything is produced by the middleman, whose job it is to polarize.
Yep. They polarize everything, and that's what you just said earlier. That I never looked at it that way. Like, that's the perfect polarization to.
You need a savior. You got to polarize people first.
Yeah. Yeah,
you got to make one person hated. Yeah. I mean, how could anybody believe that a guy who's the president of the United States is so stupid that he goes out of his way to make sure everything he does pisses them off?
Yeah.
Nobody grasps the idea that this is choreographed. Silly people.
Wow, man. But yeah, with the...
Hang on, I got to throw a log in my fire here. Yeah, I live in the basement, and I call it my cave. And I heat it with a wood stove.
Oh, you got a wood stove?
Yeah.
I guess you save more money that way, or?
Well, we have 34 acres on the farm. And when you have 34 acres, there always are trees that are dying all the time. And if you leave them where they fall, well, it makes a mess. So I try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, clean up the dead trees, and then use them in the winter for firewood.
Mm.
They're not basically hardwood, so it's not the best of firewood. Burns too fast.
Mm.
But it's cheaper than buying, and has to be done to clean the place up anyways.
Oh, the nature. I've been analyzing nature. I look for what I could see, and I see, like, how these guys, these people in their system, they try to emulate nature.
Yeah.
I was just looking the other day, like, at a whole bunch of seagulls and birds, and how they all seem to be moving in one direction. They'll all post up, like when it's raining, they'll all sit on the lawn, on the lawn.
Yeah.
It just all like, and that's what you're seeing when you look at an army.
Did you ever see the movie Jonathan Livingston Seagull? Got to see that.
I'll go see that one.
They follow boats out in the ocean who are fishing and throwing the scraps overboard. Jonathan's a guy like you. He's a seagull, and all of a sudden he realizes that following fishing boats and eating their garbage is a boring way to spend one's life. Besides that, he wants to be different. His parents give him shit. Why can't you be like all the others and do what you're told? But he wants to fly. He wants to fly higher and fly faster. Tries and fails and crashes and picks himself up and tries again, and parents give him hell. And first thing you know, he's the fastest flying bird in the flock. and other young birds start to follow him. He's more interested in how fast he can go. And then he comes across this girlfriend that he hangs out with, and they come across a teacher, old seagull. Seagull teaches him a lesson. He said, flying, Jonathan, flying fast is just a number. There always will be a bigger number. You want to learn to fly fast, Jonathan, must begin by believing you have already arrived. Perfect speed in flying, Jonathan, is being there. That's what you have to learn. That you have already arrived. What that means is when you want to be something, you have to act like you already were. May not be able to carry every aspect of the thing, but you can, in fact, be mentally in the place you want to be before you physically arrive. I was a serviceman for an international duplicator company. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be the president. So, taking the lesson from Jonathan Livingston Seagull, I started to think like the president. A president basically looks at the bigger picture, not just at his job. I started to deal with the people around me, basically using the pattern of the next job above me. First thing I know, when there was an opening in sales, they said, why do we have Kealey in service when he really acts like a salesman? So they made me a salesman. Then I began to act like the sales manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began to act like the president.
Mm-hmm.
The president said to me, there's only one president, and I'm it. You can't be president. I said, I know that. That's why I'm here. I'm here to resign. Because I'm going off to be the president. I want what you have. And you're not about to leave. And I went out and I opened my own company and became the president. Then along the way, I discovered that president was not really what I wanted to be. What I wanted to be was more teacher. And the only reason I didn't want to be the teacher is because there was no money in it. Mm-hmm. Until, as the president of my company, I was approached by a politician who asked me for a bribe on behalf of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, and I refused to pay. I knew the consequences would be that they would do what they needed to do to shut down my business. So I basically decided then, well, here's my opportunity to teach. But before I teach, I have to learn what I'm going to teach.
So you already thought yourself as being a teacher.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's with this. There's this big movement. Like when you go in the bookstores, and you'll see all over stores, this how to become successful, visualize it, and all these. Just think positive and all these type of things. And that's all, And I look at it all like it's like
positive thinking is not the first step.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is you have to remove the negative. Because just positive thinking makes you walk around in a dream.
Yeah.
You have to begin by finding out what's preventing the things from being what they should be. And until that problem is tackled, the rest of it is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You see, they consider success as being wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Been there, done that, don't care for the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Wealthy means you're constantly trying to figure out who's stealing from you and how you can hang on to things. and you go to bed at night half drunk or half stupid,
mm-hmm.
And you get sick from stress. So to be successful to me is basically to be on your journey, not anybody else's journey for you,
mm-hmm.
on your own journey.
Yeah.
And that does not mean that there has to be tons of money. You adjust your living standards to be in balance with your journey. I basically said, hey, if I do what I want to do,
mm-hmm.
people will want to know why I'm doing it. And I'll be a teacher. And what I did was I went to Parliament Hill, and I set up Parliament Hill within 50 meters of the door, and I began to ask the Prime Minister here in Canada. We're a lot closer to the door than you are in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he'd get out of the car, when was he going to stop stealing?
Wow.
And once he even came over and kind of bumped me to see if I would react, because his security people would have jumped me. Yeah. I just stood there, and he walked away, and one of the security people later on came, "You're really getting on his nerves. He's asking us now to come through the back door instead of the front door." And I said, "Well, that's where they put the garbage." And I expected I'd be there just for a short while, but there for 3 years, 1,000 days. But in the end, I had people who were asking me to address their group, whether it was a social activist group or a church group or union hall or whatever. And I was basically telling them the story of why I was on Parliament Hill and what had occurred, and that I wanted to hear from them if they had experiences that I could learn from. 10 years of that, I came to be what I wanted to be. Teacher learns not just by the things he investigates, but he also learns from the students by the questions they ask. So I'm not simply doing you a favor by talking to you. I'm also learning.
Yeah, because you get to see different points of view.
Yeah. Not just from one person, but it's all of the people. Each one approaches the problem differently. I become the common denominator of hearing all of these versions. That is helpful in learning the things I teach.
Yeah, because I guess I do. Like when I interpret what I'm learning from you, I might sound different. And that's the thing, when I learn this stuff from you, like with other people, because I speak to other people who, they've glanced at your work and they say things, well, he's making no sense. This guy is leading you on. And I'm just like, I guess that's from, not, they're just used to everything being laid out for them, that type of style. And they don't just go look into it and actually do a little bit of legwork, I guess, and you'll see for yourself.
40-second sound bites is what they want. That's not learning. That's programming.
Yeah.
Learning is basically digging, mining, so you get the real meaning of things.
Yeah. And
it has to be married with your own life story. You can't live somebody else's life story. If there's an ultimate truth, it will show up in everybody's life story. So they'll find the answers if they're looking.
I've also heard too, like the answers. They say that the answer for all things is actually inside the individual.
Of course. It's in your spine. In the marrow of your spine, and it's stem cells, each one being a hologram of the whole.